many visits. Oh my goodness, here we go. Straight in at the top end of the business. From the ridiculous to the sublime, it's our goshawk nest with 2 young this year and the female in adult plumage.
OK, let's go and look at our live nests. Let's decide which one we're going to pick out. Should we go to one of your favourites?
Yeah, go on.
The goshawk. I mean, this is a sexy bird. We've had a lot of small birds that we've been featuring in tonight's show, but this is the one that's been really affected by the wind. Just look at it swaying there. Can we see anything in it? If we just peek into the top there, we can see the chick. Look at that. Little chick there. Unfortunately, we haven't got the sexy adult bird, but lovely to see the goshawk.
Okay.
2 of them, you can see just about.
And I know you do love a goshawk. I know you do.
That's so dashing, so exciting, so fast and ferocious. And again, when I was a kid, you know, the idea that I would see goshawks in my garden and they would be part of my avian community was unthinkable. So in my lifetime, these extraordinary birds have come back. And they are, frankly, terrifying if you get up close to them. Those piercing chrome eyes, you know, just, wow. Really impressive.
So let's have a quick look at that nest. So we do have...
Oh,
look at that.
Oh, the females come back to start brooding those birds overnight. Look at that.
Stunning.
Look at the eye, look at the eye, look at the ferocity. It's an avian Terminator.
Look at
Nothing.
So we've got 2 chicks in there, haven't we? They're
Yep.
around 3 weeks old, and they've been feeding really well. They've been bringing in corvids.
Yep.
Squirrels.
Squirrels, grey squirrels. We know in areas where there are abundant grey squirrels, they will focus on those. They seem quite adept at catching grey squirrels. But again, you know, rather like the kestrel, rather like the barn owl, they will take quite a broad range of prey. They'll sample from that environment. One thing they do is take quite a lot of chicks out of nests. So we know that they'll visit corvid nests, they'll visit other raptors' nests, and we've even seen them in some places going to a nest with small chicks, right, and then not eating them, flying away, looking at the chicks in the nest, flying away, leaving them there, and then coming back when they're bigger. Almost as if they're farming those chicks.
Oh, so they know.
Yeah, they let the adults feed them up so they're bigger, and then they come back and get them later when they're a bit bigger and more mature. That's the goshawk. It's not only, you know, sharp and predatory, it's smart as well. So I have to tell you that the song thrushes had built their nest no less than 100 metres away from the goshawks, and this is what we saw. Here it is, the adults brooding on the nest. Yesterday, just after 6 in the morning, it wakes up with a start. It's clearly frightened, and it's thinking, I've got to get out of here, quick, and it does. And very shortly afterwards, the male goshawk comes in, snatches at all of the chicks in the nest. It manages to secure at least one in its foot, the others tumble to the ground. It then stands there for about a minute or so, quite pleased with itself. And this harvesting chicks from nest is very common in goshawks. They'll take small birds like song thrush, they'll take things like jays, then crows, buzzards, other raptors too. And here we see a short while afterwards the goshawk bringing a song thrush chick. Quite difficult to see, but we've zoomed in and checked. It is one of those chicks, comes into the nest. Now the male flies off quite quickly without dismembering that. So initially the young aren't taking much notice of it, but of course soon after the female comes in and then tears up that song thrush chick and starts feeding it to the young. We think that the male went back and retrieved those that it spilt from the nest, and as I say, this nest harvesting is not unusual at all. Early this morning, of course, as we see, the adults are confused, they bring the worms in, and there's nothing to eat those, so they do the decent thing and eat the worms themselves. Now the good news is, because there is some good news here, the goshawks have had a meal, but the secondary good news is that the song thrush will very likely build another nest and try again this summer. It's not too late for that. Tell you what, spirits of enchantment, we can go to the spirit of the wood now. Let's go live to our goshawk's nest. Oh, look at that. Oh, so good. It's a raptor fest, isn't it? Started strong with the peregrine, and now we've got the goshawk there, feeding those young. Aren't they superb? Truly superb. So ferocious. Look at the eye. Look at the eye. The eye means only one thing. When you see it, you've had it. So good. Now, we started watching these 9 days ago. Look at the difference in those chicks. This was them 9 days ago. None of the feathers visible, much smaller, covered in that white, fluffy down coat. And also look at the female. She's doing all of the feeding. That's her now on the right. That's a female that we were watching very close to this nest last year. We think it's the same female. She's molted into our adult plumage, and we've looked very closely and we think it's the same bird. Nest is quite high up, 24 metres in one of these spindly pine trees. So during the course of the week, when the wind blows, as you can see, it's a rocky ride for these young goshawks. We also noticed the birds doing this. Now, we've seen goshawk before, and like a few other birds, they will bring aromatic plants to their nest. It's thought that it reduces the chances of bacteria infecting the young. It could be reducing the parasite load in the nest. But we've never seen the birds actually collecting it before. But here she's going out, snapping off all of this fresh greenery and then bringing it back to the nest. As I say, there are a number of theories as to why these birds might be doing this. The general one, because it's seen in other birds, even blue tits will do it. Blue tits will bring things like mint or catmint back to their nest, and scientists have looked at that and seen that it's reduced the bacterial load in the nest. But we've got more coming up this week, I can promise you. I'll tell you what, let's go live straight away to all of our remaining remote cameras. Obviously, some have fledged, we've lost those, but oh my goodness me, you know where I'm going. Let's go to the goshawks. What a...
That's great, isn't it?
A portrait of perfection, predatory perfection in the making. Haven't they changed? Remember we first started looking at little white fluff balls?
It's unbelievable, just in 2 weeks. We haven't actually focused that much on them, have we?
Sadly
so it's
not.
Really
Sadly
nice
not.
to go to them live when they're looking so spectacular.
Teardrop feathers on the breast, characteristic of the juvenile plumage. They can see their wing feathers coming through, but most notably, the eye.
It's
the piercing eye of this predator. Sensational stuff. More to come.
Well, they're keeping their eye on us. We've been keeping our eye on all of the nests, as I hope some of you have on the iPlayer over the weekend.
I tell you what, let's go from one small, albeit cute predator to something altogether slightly more ferocious. Our goshawks. We can take a look at them live. We've got 2 in the nest here. These are being filmed under special licence from Natural England. They're Schedule 1 birds, very, very rare. Now, there's no danger of these birds fledging before the end of the week, but they've certainly matured a lot. Look at them just a few days ago. You can see a lot more down there, very similar in size, possibly the same sex. We know that in this species there's strong sexual dimorphism. Females much bigger than males, but look at the feet!
They're
the
enormous.
size of those feet, they mean business, don't they? Been doing quite a lot of exercise, as we frequently see with these birds, and also a bit of semi-branching. These birds have been on the edge of their nest, stepping out. But look at this. The adult comes in here. Now, it's very quick, difficult to see, but I can tell you that it has delivered a buzzard chick. And shortly, it comes back with a second buzzard chick, which has been removed, of course, from a buzzard's nest. And we've seen this frequently. Our male, early in the series, emptied a song thrush's nest. So they do raid nest for chicks. And in some places, they take a lot of buzzards. A study done in Finland showed that buzzard mortality between 8 and 33% was down to goshawks. And I've seen them taking buzzards in the woods where I live in the New Forest. Again, chicks from the nest. Is that a problem for buzzards? Well, yes and no, because another study done in Germany showed that when the buzzards were nesting close to the goshawks, they were less troubled by carrion crows, which otherwise give them a lot of grief, as we all know. So it's a sort of a trade-off. Get close to the goshawks, get some peace from the crows, but you do risk losing your young a bit later on.
Right, prepare yourself for a raptor fest. We've already seen the kestrels. Now let's catch up with 2 more, starting with the goshawks. Oh, this was filmed yesterday in the sunshine. 2 beautiful goshawk chicks high up on their nest there. They're feeding themselves early on, of course. We saw them covered in white fluffy down. They've grown. They're now around 5.5 weeks old with those teardrop marks down their breast. They're looking at flies. Obviously fans of Chris Packham. Chris, you would appreciate
Look
that.
at that Goshawk fly, very rare species indeed.
Goshawk fly. And they've got those beautiful sky blue grey. Oh, look at that, they're branching. They're starting to branch. When they get to this age, they start to jump around, exercising their wings. Lovely to see that.